There's so many people and groups that have got to know each other and work together as a result of those events.
We brought them all together and we showcased them in Carlisle and then in Kendal, and I hope that in future it will grow across Cumbria.
Now more than ever, unity is really important so that we can all live and work together in peace and harmony and help and support each other.
The concept of unity and the festival itself is such an important thing, such a powerful way to bring everyone together.
It's got something to bring to the whole community. Anything that can expand people's views and give them the chance to interact and relate to other people has to be a good thing.
It was a great atmosphere. That day was very successful, very fantastic.
Communities have grown out of Unity Festival. They've grown out of the people that have turned up and said, well, actually, I'm willing to take part in this, or I'm willing to help with this.
The Unity Festival brought everyone together.
It provides a space for people from all sorts of communities to meet, to converse, to find understanding, and to build connections.
It just shows that every town could have a Unity Festival. It's so important.
We've had an awful lot of interest from people who are interested in ideas of justice and solidarity, which is what Unity is all about, isn't it?
The Unity Festival brought all sorts of different people together and celebrated all the things they have in common. And I think it's absolutely imperative that we keep going, trying to do that in the best way that we can.
We had the chance to light a spark somehow. And I was really glad to see how many people really want to do something and really want to step out of their own life to help others and be an agent for change.
Yeah, the Unity Festival is an interesting animal, isn't it? It's got this word unity built into it, and there's lots of discussions have been about what does that actually mean, which has been really valuable. And as people have come together, it has encouraged perhaps organisations and individuals who may not have come into contact with each other before in any kind of serious way. It's engendered that kind of wider conversation and making those wider links.
The ideas originally came from a Unity Festival of similar which was happening in Newcastle, but in Carlisle it was entirely a different dimension. One day there was an incident, a hate crime incident. Around 56 or 55-year-old man have punched another man in Carlisle city centre, about 50 or 51-year-old man. They were both campaigning for and against the Brexit. And right after that one, I was at that time manager of Hewitson, Cumbria, and in our first meeting were Tony Hayward, John from the Carlisle Op Shop, Fiona Goldie, myself, Adrian. Obviously we did not have a model at that time. The emotions were so high. We wanted to create a new way of working with different groups who were existing there. They know each other, but they never worked together.
And a group was formed. Awaz kindly agreed to host.
And then Carlisle City Council, Cumbria County Council, Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, Cumbria Community Foundation, Cumbria CVS, and then we have Hospital Trust, NHS. So the Carlisle Equality and Diversity Partnership members, Pink Cumbria, and Outreach Cumbria. So all these groups came together and we formed a steering committee. And within 2 months, we have created an opportunity for people to listen to each other, to understand each other, to empathize with each other with one ideal, and that was the unity. And we have in Carlisle the Carlisle Refugee Action Group, which was instrumental from the very beginning of the Carlisle Unity Festival.
I've been part of Carlisle Refugee Action Group for the past 5.5 years. I know Tony through that group. He was part of the team who set it up in the summer of 2015 after the tragic death of Alan Kurdi and the call for help for refugees stranded around Europe. Tony was part of the team who organised collections of donations, clothes, sleeping bags tents and food to send to Calais. There was the jungle there and refugees living around and about that area of northern France. And he was a key part of that team. His expertise was logistics.
The planning that he helped with came in crucial when we were looking at getting caravans down to northern France as well. He was absolutely vital and crucial with that. He worked a lot with a colleague of mine, James.
We had about 20 caravans that passed through us on the way to Calais at some point. Tony, in the case of all of those, occasionally he procured them. He always checked them. He often had to fettle them to make sure that they were fit, not just fit for us to tow, but fit for the people that were going to inhabit them. If I left a caravan with Tony to do a bit of work on, you could be sure that when it came back, it would have instructions for various parts of a caravan in 5 or 6 languages, because he'd made the effort to make sure that it would be as easy as possible for the people whose lives were already incredibly difficult.
And he was a fantastic asset to getting Crag up and running.
And has been able to provide not as much support as we'd like, but has been able to continue to provide physical support in whether it be caravans, sleeping bags, tins of food, or whether it be campaigning efforts, such as campaigning against the current Home Office plan for immigration.
I just enjoy talking to him about his membership of the Wobblies, the Industrial Workers of the World, and sharing ideas about that kind of political perspective. Sometimes we spoke about anarchism, we spoke about syndicalism, we spoke about workers being together and planning out and sticking up and fighting for each other. But it was always done in a very magnanimous kind of way. It was quite a humble man as well, I've got to say.
He was part of the first few people to start talking about Carlisle Unity Festival.
I heard about the Unity Festival probably through Adrienne and Henry working with Crag, as we were helping some of the refugee stuff going on at the time. We were working in low-income communities, working with people who were excluded or isolated, and Unity Festival was really reaching out to those who didn't have much of a voice in the community. Not to push that voice forward particularly, but just to celebrate these small community groups that exist and do so much for so many people, and often in a pretty sort of, unrecognized kind of way. They were important and they weren't well funded, and there were a lot of people giving a lot of their time to them. And it was just a lovely idea as a way to get some of these people together and just say, hey, we're here. What are you doing? We do this. Let's learn about each other and just celebrate that.
I first met Tony in the early 80s. We had a common interest in gun dogs, in training gun dogs, in shooting, being countrymen, doing a bit of fishing. We bred dogs together and been friends almost since the first day we met. We just really hit it off. The other thing that we both had in common was a strong sense of social justice, which is very apparent in Tony. And the only time I've really seen him get angry was over issues like that. And he could be quite sharp, but most of the time, really easygoing. He was one of those people who got things done just by encouraging people. But if he wanted you to do something, like when he wanted me to be involved in the Unity Festival, it wasn't, would you like to be involved? It was, we're having this Unity Festival in the city and we need somebody to do with the health and safety and you're going to do it. I said, well, how is that going to work? What's it about? And he explained what it was all about. And he said, you've done, event health and safety before. We need somebody to do the forms. But because of our friendship, that was sometimes the way it was.
On the day, I'd help set up the stalls and, sort of look at any problems that came up during the day, talking to people who were running the stalls, making sure everything was running effectively. And I've got to say, I learned some of that from Tony, I think. Certain things that he helped with, sort of helped me gauge, oh yes, that's a good way to do this, that's a good way to do that. And how to just stay chilled during the whole day when there's so much going on.
The true breadths and depths of the Unity Festival is to bring all walks of life, of any age, of any creed, of any colour, of any religion, of any capacity together to be as one. And that's why I knew that it was a place for myself to be.
You're having people from range of communities, different backgrounds, different ethnicities is coming. They are get to know each other. Organizations get to know them. Some organizations, people not really very often hear about them. They had the opportunity to introduce themselves.
The first Unity Festival, I remember we have around 36 groups or community and organizations. It went up to 45, and then at one time we have over 50 people.
Tony came to life at the festival. He was ill for an awful long time, even though people didn't know that. His Opus Rona used to lift. Like myself, he was a great people watcher, and used to like listening to people when we were at the festival. Oh, I didn't know that there was a Gurkha association here. I didn't know there was this association here. He loved watching people engaging with all these things.
And every year we have glorious weather, which you can wish for in Cumbria. Every Unity Festival, we were so lucky.
We did our first festival and we made loads of mistakes. And there's a great list of things we could have done better. But you know what? We had a good day, and people whose voices hadn't been heard before were heard. In amongst all the stalls, people were telling their stories for the first time in many cases. And that was a really important thing for those people concerned. They weren't the group leaders as such, but they'd come along as volunteers on the day and shared some of their experiences and why that group was important to them. And certainly some of the feedback from our group was that it had opened their eyes to how much other work was going on in small ways in the community and how many other things there were, and people who were like them. Not everybody has got it right. Some of us have issues, suffer with different conditions, just don't cope that well, whatever label you want to put on it. It's not that unusual. And actually there are good, kind people out there who do get alongside you and who do help. And it really breaks down that feeling of isolation and loneliness.
It's not just only help about integration, help about mental health. People actually find someone to speak to. You can approach someone you never know before. It's not necessary to be your friend, but will be your friend after that day. You can get to know each other. You can see a different point of view. You can get to know different culture. Some people, they spend a huge amount of money to travel everywhere to find about culture. Here in UK, you're lucky. You have 70% or more from this culture is present in your own community. Just to go out in the street and you see how many languages spoken just in Carlisle street.
Going there working on the Crag stall was a very positive opportunity to talk to people, not just to talk to people about what Crag was doing, but to talk to people about why we were doing it, and the chance to have some of those awkward conversations that really needs to be had. There are myths that need to be busted about refugees. There are just conversations that need to be had with people who might actually turn up at your stall because they disapprove of what you're doing and they want to tell you that. But the atmosphere of the Unity Festival does lend itself to being able to have those conversations with people.
I was a part of the very first Unity Festival back in 2016. So I attended as an exhibitor, and I felt it was so important to the city, our community and society in general to have a Unity Festival which was inclusive and diverse in every area of life, that I couldn't resist joining to become a committee member.
Well, I became involved in the festival thanks to Nick Pemberton, who ran Speakeasy and was already part of the festival in 2016 by holding an open mic poetry session.
Since you're still here, go sort things out. The spirits were clear, the wine was green, brown was the beer. It did not kill you, all the drink you drank. You're not at peace, you're not content. Instead, for now, you're happy. Give thanks.
We worked together on a film where we interviewed loads of people from outside the UK who'd come to live and work in Carlisle, and Nick had asked them to do a poem or a song in the language of their country of origin, and this provided the basis for a project where people could communicate and tell their story. We ended up with a 75-minute film called This Place.
Poetry's poetry, or writing it's always about stuff, and the stuff's always the same, really, wherever you're from, life, death, families, you know what I mean, and the friendships and whatever.
Oh, serious.
And so I thought if we do that, get someone to read, tell them a bit of, just to the camera, tell us a bit about themselves. You'll have a lot of different stories, different languages, and people then might get the idea. On one level, we're all the same.
We premiered the film at the 2017 Unity Festival at the Assembly Rooms above the Town Hall. Nick couldn't be there because it was his son's birthday, so I had to handle the screening of the film and also a little speakeasy, which we did beforehand. And the film turned out really well, and we've screened it at a number of places, and it always gets a really good reception.
As the second one came about, we were a little bit better at it. We were blessed with good weather again. People came along. I'm not sure it was quite as good, if I'm honest, because we had got better at it, but we knew more about it. So I'm not sure if the effect was as good. And we realised that probably what we were doing by then was educating the public, because the groups knew of each other's existence. And we probably didn't have that as well planned as we could have done. Partly because a lot of the groups are very small and underfunded, and we'd let some bigger groups in who are very well funded, and they had very polished public information machines, if you like, that gave out glossy literature, had great photos, the photo walls, etc. were wonderful, and that's all really good as you're coming through and seeing it all. But if you're just a bunch of people who have tried to put something together on a postage stamp budget, and you've covered some old hardboard in sheets or something for your post, it doesn't look quite as good. And I think it kind of highlighted the difference. I suspect some people felt a little bit negative about it. That is not to say that the festival itself was negative, it wasn't. But it did bring that highlight of the difference between the funded and the popular groups and the unfunded. So that was for me, I took that away, and that concerned me a little bit about how we looked and whether professionalism was actually desired and should be there, or if that grassroots feeling was what really mattered. And it's a personal view, but I think the grassroots end of it, if you like, is what mattered. It wasn't about being polished and professional, although those are good things. It was about empowering those who actually lived that life, being able to share that life at the festival.
It was always really exciting to go in and do the committee meetings, because we were listening about how everything was expanding, all the new things that were getting involved and the new people that were coming in to be exhibitors.
I used to put the program together. So each year I tried to add something new. And in the last year we had a parade at the beginning and live music in the afternoon. So the festival was becoming a great entertainment event.
It's the 4th year in a row that this wonderful day is being celebrated. You've just seen us walk together. You can see us stand together. Our differences make no difference at all, because we are united. This is one of the ways to celebrate Unity Day.
I do see it as something that will, that perhaps will have themes that it carries in different kinds of years, but always with this idea of togetherness and diversity. We've had times where the Syrian refugees, for example, the families that have come into Carlisle have participated very, very well and come and shown dance.
With the Chinese performance, it's a family-friendly day.
What we want to do, we want to just celebrate in our differences, all the things that unite us.
And people have been open to that. So it's helped all those kind of potential challenges and made an impact in the community.
I think it's important that people have an opportunity to turn up and share their words, and we understand where they're coming from. Speakeasy is still part of the Unity Festival.
I remember when David Simmons, who does the haiku, excellent artist, and we asked him, why not you showcase and come and do it in Carlisle? And it was so buzzing. It was so beautiful. And now he has flourished because he has all that talent. But Carlisle Unity Festival gave him that opportunity to shine.
People used to think there might have been trouble from, shall we say, our more right-wing friends, but there was never any. It was great, and because there was such a diversity, there was other groups there, people from Mind, and there was a chap who used to make like huts to go to Calais for the refugees. I remember the bloke saying to him, I've got a lot of timber you can have. That wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had the festival. So therefore that helped somebody who was probably living in a £30 tent. Instead of, don't get us wrong, these little huts he made weren't palaces, but they were much better than a £30 tent.
In Carlisle City Council, specifically for like the festivals, that they can only fund them for 3 years, and it is expected that after 3 years they will, find their own funding, and that was a challenge. Because we were a small community initiative. It was hosted and managed and supported by Awaz Cumbria, which is a small BME community organization. And in the meeting, Tony said that, well, we'll go ahead. We'll do it whatever happens. And if come to that, I'll write a check. After you can have a check, a blank check from me. I'll cover the cost. And I said to Tony, that's fine. And that was actually gives us so much confidence. And that was the beauty of the Tony. That Tony was a strength. He was your backbone. He was always there to help you, to nurture you, to support you, to develop you. He ensured that wherever there are the risks, and specifically for risk assessments, and all those issues where we can fumble, we may waver, as a godfather, he was there for us to help us.
I think in that group he was both a source of wisdom and inspiration.
The Unity Festival was a highlight of my year. It was a day off from actual work. We got to meet people and just chat at their speed and at their pace. And it was so heartening to see. When we're working in a project, you have your head down and you work quite hard and you're doing your best. And you feel often quite, not alone, but, a little bit isolated perhaps. And the Unity Festival brought other people together in a similar way who are working so hard, some of them, and doing so many fabulous things. I found it a real boost to my year. And I know that the people who came along with us and did it found it a real highlight for the year as well. They looked forward to it and enjoyed it immensely.
It did become quite a piece of work, the Unity Festival. And it's great that it's spread.
One day I got a phone call. It was Nikolai Peterson, who was the director of the Goethe Institute in Glasgow. And he said that Aftab wanted to visit the Carlisle Unity Festival. And then Catherine Sohn from London Goethe Institute, she came along. The first workshop I facilitated in Tully House in Carlisle. And through that process, we created the question for Carlisle, that how can we understand isolation and how can we overcome it?
And a number of people from the Unity Festival attended the workshops where we tried to understand what our response to the project was going to be.
They were interested in how we in Cumbria, and particularly in Carlisle, working within all the broader communities, actually bringing the idea of unity within the diverse groups. So our idea was picked up, internationally, European-wide. We linked up with Thessaloniki, and our great poet of Cumbria and Carlisle, our friend Nick Pemberton. He was so instrumental in bringing those things together.
I think their idea of a new media exhibition is a pretty good idea, because we don't have to get everybody together in the town square all the time, and it will be another thing that goes on, which getting people together in the town square is quite good, don't get me wrong about that, And that to do that, though, we've got to start making different kinds of art, different kinds of stories, So I would suggest that that's, and we have enough people here who are skilled at doing that. We can send our own questions about identity and about isolation out, but don't send them out, think that from the top, send them out sideways. I'm going to start tonight because I've got a poetry night on, and I'll just send them away. And sorry, it makes me sound like I'm a leader or something, but I'm not. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, and it goes sideways. Then they will write some poems. Yeah, they will talk to other people. I know people, school teachers, they'll work with things like this. You know, and we could have a big bundle of stuff. You know, round the theme. How we organise it later, that comes later. Yeah.
Sadly, Nick passed away in 2018, and we were still in the middle of preparing for the Fryram project and lots of things. And I, along with lots of other people from Speakeasy, managed to keep that on track and keep it going.
And from there, we have a parallel journey alongside the Carlisle Unity Festival. And then in 2018, when the Goethe Institute and they visited Carlisle, they be part of it. And they later on told me that they did a research and they find out that within England, the Unity Festival after the Brexit vote was one of the most aspiring, most innovative projects. The vision of the Unity Festival became a reality.
During my year, I wanted to think of a theme that I could focus on. And the theme I thought about was diversity. I thought that could really bring people together, especially because we live in Cumbria. The population is 95% Caucasian. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to get different cultures, different communities, helping and supporting each other, and also being able to live and work together in peace and harmony. One of my colleagues, Aftab Khan, he was involved in the Carlisle Unity Festival, and it really inspired me. I thought, for my theme for the year, why don't I work on doing the first ever Kendal Unity Festival? So I liaised with Aftab.
We have Guy over there, Sharam, Karen, Andrea, all that team, and so many others.
We thought to be a really good idea. So I put a proposal together to the Kendal Town Council, and then we approached the Cumbria County Council, the South Lakeland District Council, and they were all really keen, I'm glad to say, to support the first ever Kendal Unity Festival. And then we got a committee together, and then we held the first event in June 21st, 2018.
Everyone very keen to involve, everyone happily to do their bit. You see really spirits of cooperations and people just to be one team, people just want to give their best to get a very best outcome for that festival. And I think that year, Unity Festival Kendal, that was one of most successful events.
And I was elected as mayor in May 2018. So it was perfect timing. It was one of my first major events, and to have that as a theme of diversity, you know, thinking about the idea and actually seeing it in practice. And we were so lucky. It was a nice sunny day. We had good attendance as well. There was a really good atmosphere.
So the model which we created in Carlisle was replicated in Kendal, far more better than even in Carlisle.
So I was really proud of our achievement of putting that together.
I got involved in the Unity Festival for the first time in 2019. We started organising, I think, around February, March, mainly then in April and May. I then helped Aftab Khan, who was the community development manager at the time for Oaz Cumbria, to organise the festival in Kendal.
I'm pleased to say that in 2019, the next festival was even bigger and better.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but last month at the Diverse Cumbria Awards, the Kendal Unity Festival was awarded Diversity Event of the Year. So that's testament to all of you. Yeah, thank you very much for support and help that you did.
Kendal Unity Festival won it, and the team in Kendal won it. And that was a shared achievement.
We felt it was important to have Apple Hall Park as a centre stage, but then to have fringe areas where we had different activities. So that way people walking through town would fall upon an activity and then hopefully be intrigued to find out more.
Where there is unity, people are in agreement and they act together for a particular purpose. Unity is a state of different areas, different groups, different people coming together to form a single notion. Unity is sometimes a hard notion to pull off. It asks us to put our own singular preferences or ideals aside for the sake of joining another.
We had the schools involved in a poetry writing competition, an art competition, which was held in the Brewery Arts Centre.
The Unity Festival is about bringing people together. Society is built on coming together, trust.
The first thing that we will for cooking of the soup is shallots or onions, whatever you want them.
We had lots more people attending, and again there was such a good atmosphere. There was lots of different activities taking place all over town, and we had really good feedback.
I was very impressed by all the enthusiasm, the response by the local people, and the sense of scale, because there was events happening at multiple locations, which was even bigger than what was happening in Carlisle.
And also we learnt from some of the mistakes we made from the first event, and also things that we could do better. And I think we managed to implement those for the second festival. Because one of the feedbacks we had was that it was a sunny day. It'd be great to have things like ice cream on hand and stalls for people to buy food and snacks and drinks so they don't have to wander away and come back. So we implemented that in 2019. And again, that really added to the cultural diversity of the event as well. We had Thai food, we had Jamaican cuisine, and we had an ice cream van which had queues practically throughout the whole day.
The sun is shining, people are in fantastic moods. We've got music, nice opportunities to chit-chat to people. Life is good.
A big thanks to all our volunteers for the day. Thank you very much.
I want to thank especially to Youth Council, guys. You are just absolutely amazing.
May I take this opportunity to thank all of our stallholders, our visitors, and our wonderful volunteers, and each and every one of those colleagues who participated, and I look forward to working with all of you again. Next year, our festival will be the third Saturday of June 2020.
2020 was always going to be a challenge for the Carlisle Unity Festival because Aftab had left Awaz Cumbria. Adrienne had decided she wanted to take a step back, and they'd very kindly left a very thorough guide to putting on the event. Mark Costello was attached to Awaz Cumbria at the time, and he was coordinating bits and pieces. At our last planning meeting, as we were going out the door, I did say, what about coronavirus? And we said, oh well, we'll deal with that when it comes. And then obviously the pandemic happened, we were in lockdown. I think it was in April an announcement was made that the Unity Festivals were going to be postponed for 2020. And then in May 2020, we got the sad news that Tony had passed away. He was so supportive and so enthusiastic about the Unity Festival. I think his loss was one that really affected everybody involved.
I pray and hope that the seed of love, compassion and unity in the shape of Carlisle Unity Festival, the Carlisle Unity Bowl, and the support for refugees projects within our diverse communities, my friend Tony has shown, will continue to grow and blossom.
It was very, very sad when he passed. One of my regrets is that I wasn't, because I was in lockdown, I wasn't able to get anywhere near to, to sort of just even wave goodbye to him or whatever else. I know some people did, and I think it's a great idea that you're putting together this bit of film to remember him. He should be remembered. He started something that continues, and I hope will continue. That's constantly developing, as he would say himself, progressing, developing, evolving, changing, progressing, becoming a reflection of what people want, as people begin to become clearer about working together and the kind of links that we have and the things that bring us together rather than the things that push us apart. I think we should remember him fondly, and I'm sure we all will.
His funeral should be greater than what has happened during the COVID restriction. If that was any restriction in the time, I would believe most of Cumbria would be in his funeral, which is going to be a very busy funeral. But he's always in our thoughts, in our heart. He's never going to be forgotten.
I love that spirit that nothing is impossible. We had a real strong Irish connection as well. And I know he had plans to maybe go back there someday. But yeah, he touched the lives of so many in this country, in Ireland and around the world.
Having the wonderful Tony be a cheerleader for Unity Festival warmed my heart and filled my cup up to the brim, because he was such a passionate and committed committee member, and he did so much for his community.
And he'd always come along and try and support what you were doing as well. And he'd always stop and say hello and have a little chat and see how you were doing.
He was a father, a brother, and a friend for everyone. He just make you very, very welcome.
I wanted to listen to him. Obviously, because of his illness, he was speaking slowly, but his words still rhyme in my ear.
The one thing you got from Tony straight away was his sense of humour. And I guess I clicked with him. He got an irreverence for authority, which I found really appealing, to be honest. But he had this passion for people who were marginalised, and that just shone through in everything he did, and the people that he talked about, and the numerous contacts he got, people he knew, people he'd helped, people who he'd found ways of making a difference based on relationships more than buying it in or corporate size, etc. Tony was one of those people who knew people, and he could get things done because of that.
He has a great connection with the University of Glasgow campus in Dumfries and Galloway, so we created that link with the groups in Dumfries and Galloway. They took part in Carlisle Unity Festival, and that is another connection. I'm sad in a way that all those dreams which we were thinking are that how can we grow, how can we build cross-border relationships, and this Borderland project came afterward. So if you look at this partnership which is going to be developed, we've been working on that cross-border relationships well ahead, and that was again the forward look and forward thinking of the Carlisle Unity Festival. And I wish and I hope that the Carlisle Borderland Festival will grow and bring those communities together. It will not be just between consuls, between one consul and the other consul. It is a link between two communities.
He was very good at allowing other people to express their views, and if somebody was taking over, he would say, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And that would link in great with such and such from this person, and that would give them the gap to get in, because not everybody will fight their own corner. So it was really interesting to watch him operate that way.
My thoughts and feelings go out to our colleagues that have lost a wonderful person from the committee, his lovely partner and his family as well, because we were like a family and we got so connected and close to each other, and we would connect outside of the committee meetings as well. So he was such a heartfelt guy and is a true loss.
Even when he was ill, he still played a really strong role in the committee and always wanted to be involved right up until the last festival in 2019.
I was tasked with organising the 2020 Unity Festival, and then the pandemic hit. So we decided to cancel the event, obviously, because we didn't want to create a situation where people would get together in big numbers.
We thought it's important that we don't stop the festival, because I think once you stop, you may get a situation, with lack of desire for it to continue. So a small group of us, the committee members, got together and we decided to put it as a virtual event.
So together with Charles Whitehead and Jemima Longcake, we made it happen.
We planned the idea of having a fringe, other activities to sort of stretch out all that screen time that was going to happen on the main day.
We thought that, especially because of the pandemic and especially because of this forced isolation, celebrating unity was a good idea and probably something we all needed very much.
And we had to kind of think, well, what does success look like? It's not that we necessarily have thousands of people on the park. It's that we have people, coming to things online, the fringe that gave us a test. And then on the day, we were going to have a virtual fairground, which Erica designed.
We all took control of different projects. So I did a music project with young people. Different bands and performers in the local area submitted videos, and then they were made up into a series of films on the YouTube page.
It kind of became a stage for the Kendal youth, and very many talents are present in this town, and the music was fantastic.
They had some other Cumbria-wide online events going on. There was a multilingual library, there was a kitchen garden. We were able to piggyback on 2 of those events, and that really made sense to me, because you kind of go into a space where there's already an audience. Well, doesn't mean everyone actually came that day, but you've got a kind of reason to be there that day, that time of the week.
Charles and I did a talk on nature and activism and getting out and about during the pandemic, which was really nice.
These times of environmental imbalance kind of pushed us towards the idea of what it means to be at one with nature. And then we had a very, very good poetry workshop.
People were so relaxed that words just flowed, and they were able to express themselves creatively with words, which was what it was all about, and that was great.
Creative writing is also another fantastic way of expressing oneself, especially in times of suffering and difficulties, such as times that we were living last year and still living this year.
The issue that was at its highest, I think, was Black Lives Matter. Obviously, this is a festival about unity, about unifying people, about bringing people together as a collective. So we really felt that we had to highlight that in some way.
We had a beautiful workshop and discussion about Black Lives Matter and how to become an ally. And that was the interesting, constructive kind of part. So people who really want to do something to finally not just hide away in their "but I'm not racist" kind of attitude, but actually actively become anti-racist, which is what the world needs right now, the same way the world needs environmental activists and people who decide to take responsibility, both for their actions and for the actions of somebody else.
So many people attended and came together to discuss their experiences of racism or their thoughts and feelings towards the protests, towards the events. I found it actually one of the most emotionally laden discussions that went on, unsurprisingly, because it really was a very difficult topic that was being discussed. But I think that in the end, it was a really positive way to discuss it, to bring everyone together and to give everyone, no matter what their background was, a space in which they could share their thoughts and feelings on it was a really positive thing.
We had 2 leaders in the conversation. One was Mohammed Dalek from Awaz Cumbria, and the other one was Janet Walker, formerly from Flock. So she was still Flock at the time, but after that, Janet went on to create the Anti-Racist Cumbria organization, which is now renowned all over the county and all over the country. And what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal and fantastic and so much needed.
It was one of the events that we actually got a lot of really good feedback for because of the fact that it did frame the issue in quite a positive, hopeful way. It wasn't just, let's talk about how we feel about this. It was also, let's talk about how we can move on and be positive after these awful events. That's kind of at the heart of what the Unity Festival tries to do.
I think it surpassed my expectations in the quality of some of the videos and of the meetings and workshops and talks and discussions that happened on the day and on the week of the Fringe events.
Reaching out on the tech was a little bit of a challenge. We had to sort of invent how we were going to do that because the permissions, who owns the Unity book site, there's Awaz, all that stuff. It was a little bit of a scramble, but it was all fine.
It did have a lot of challenges, but I actually think that in the end, being online, the benefits of it did kind of outweigh it because there were so many wonderful ways in which we got to connect with people who we wouldn't have normally connected with. There were people from all around the county, but then we had people from elsewhere within the UK. I think there were also international people getting involved, certainly of those who attended the Fringe events and watched some of the videos that we put up. So it was really, really nice to see the Unity community and family kind of expanding over this period of being online. Some people don't find it very comfortable to be in a festival environment, but then when it's online, they can attend, they can enjoy it, they can be at the distance that they feel comfortable with. So it was much more accessible for everyone.
I didn't expect thousands of people to engage, but I guess Facebook is such an easy tool to use in these circumstances. One of the difficult things was because I wasn't aware enough of the tools that we could use, maybe it could have been different. And that's also why I'm so keen to do it this year as well, because I've learned a great deal from them. I've participated to other online festivals because that was the normal kind of last year. And so I saw how they did it and I saw how we can do it.
So we're hoping to do the same again this year, but unfortunately we're in a similar pandemic situation. So this year we're going to be delivering another virtual event. This will be our first sort of Cumbria-wide Unity Festival event. We wanted to bring in the expertise of Carlisle. They've held very successful Carlisle Unity festivals. So we thought it'd be great to have Carlisle as a key area. And Barrow, I've never had a Unity festival. And unfortunately, there's been lots of issues recently in Barrow regarding race, unfortunately. So we thought this is a great opportunity to have three key areas, Kendal, Barrow and Carlisle, as main focuses, but also other areas are free to get involved as much as they can as part of the Unity Festival.
Another thing that we've seen, that we've experienced from this pandemic, is that when we all get together globally, we can solve problems really quickly and we can exchange information and data and advance as a species.
So I suggested, why don't we make a book out of all the amazing work that people have produced?
Let's just collect lots of people's statements, poems, photographs, paintings, whatever. It was like seamless coming out of the Unity Festival. Now it's published. Now we've actually got the proper job. And we can piggyback on some of these bits in this year's festival.
And it's going to be launching officially at a launch event as part of Global Thought Festival in July. And it's also part of a larger community of projects, because all the funds from this one and all the funds from a film project that I ran last year called Mara, they will go towards community projects, to funding those. And I think that really kind of highlight what the legacy of the Unity Festival is, because just last year's festival alone turned into this book, which then we coupled up with this film to create a fund that is now going to be funding youth projects who no doubt the members of will get involved in the Unity Festival.
The whole of life seems to have gone onto digital platforms in this last year, so doing a Unity Festival for the whole of Cumbria that way makes sense. I think it's really good that organisations like the University of Cumbria are getting involved even more and bringing a lot more to the table.
I would love to see it back again, even this year, if we decide to do it like virtual.
There'll be groups in Kendal who are not aware of groups in Carlisle and what activities they're doing, and similarly with Barrow. So hopefully they'll raise that awareness and people can find out more about different groups and activities and get involved and start those communication links. Hopefully next year we'll be in a situation where we'll be face to face. But there's no reason why, it still can't be a Cumbria-wide theme. So hopefully it will continue to grow even bigger and better.
Tony was just such an iconic individual there. That I've never met anyone like Tony, and I would doubt if I ever will. His enthusiasm and that twinkle, he just brought it all together fabulously.
It was just a great experience working with him and getting to know him, and just seeing how passionate he was about community and social justice, bringing people together from different walks of life and celebrating diversity and difference and so many other things. I mean, I know he was involved in the Palestine group and many different community initiatives. It all came together through Carlisle Unity Festival, which I think he was really proud of.
One memory that sticks out the most is the last Unity Festival where we're all together and Tony was there and we got the photograph taken with the mayor. I just thought it was something that really stood out, and it will always be a special and a precious moment in my heart.
He is missed as someone to have a chat with. He's missed as someone to try and right the wrongs of the world with, and he's missed for his practical as well as his verbal support.
His family, if they watch this video, Tony was a great man. You have to be a very, very proud, which I know you are very proud. He's a hero, a simple word. He's just a hero. He's absolutely, totally missed.
We should certainly have some way of remembering him at these festivals as a founder, and the ringing of the bell.
I think it was the second festival we were organising, and we were talking about fundraising things we were doing. I think we had buckets around the place and so on. And he came up with the idea of the Unity bell to ring when we had an announcement to make and to open the event. And obviously at the end of the day to ring when we had the raffle and to celebrate the day. We all agreed and he went and got it made and it was fantastic.
Thanks to my friend Anthony, who is the core member of the organizing committee of this Unity Festival, and he has introduced this Unity bell.
This bell was Tony's legacy, and it was the most precious gift somebody can have, and I personally have in my life of 34 years of activism from Kashmir to Cumbria to United Nations and everywhere in the world. May this bell ring forever.
When it was actually being put together, he said to me, "Do you think it's a good idea?" I said, "I think it's a great idea." That's one of the things that should be kept at the festival if possible, as a legacy to him for his input into it.
We'll always hear the Unity Bell rung every year from now on, and in that we will have Tony crying out for unity.
I'd love to hear it rung again and to see it continue to be part of the Unity festivals, however they continue in Carlisle and Cumbria.
It's so versatile and flowing, and that's part of its magic, I think. I think Tony would agree with that. He had this vision, this idea that was, quite far-reaching. I think he did enjoy the various turns it took or the people that got involved.
The Unity Festival was Tony, and Tony is the Unity Festival still now, and it'll go on as a legacy going into the future.
The Unity Festival started off as a brilliant idea that seemed very unlikely to be able to work. And thanks to a team that Tony was very much part of, I turned up at the first Unity Festival to something that really felt like it had been established for years, and was already sort of sending out feelers into the community. First of all, sending out feelers for people who had things for people to do, and secondly, sending out feelers for people who wanted something to do. And that's been that sort of central drive of the Unity Festival, I think, is bringing people together.
The legacy is really strong that it brought so many different groups together. Tony and the original committee should be so proud of that.
I would like to see the event keep going because it's a great event. My word for a new organizations not involved before, give it a shot and you will never regret it. You will enjoy it.
It broadens people's experience and helps them to understand just how much these people who come to live here and work with us enrich our lives.
The differences are irrelevant. We have to fight to celebrate what unites us.
It's a really supportive atmosphere. It doesn't feel like it's really a festival about any one person being the performer or the attendee. It's all made up of workshops and people who get to come and take part, and everything feels very community focused, and it just feels like somewhere to come and take part and enjoy and just be a part of the atmosphere. Being able to put that online, it was very different to how it usually is, but it still had that same effect.
There's a tremendous legacy of people who've been involved, and they know things that work, and they know people who can make those things happen. And maybe every year there's some new people involved. Maybe every year some people drop off or they have to sit out that year. That's all fine. And I think any community event like this is dependent on those voluntary groups, voluntary individuals too. And Cumbria Unity Festival's really well served for that.
I think this last year has shown just how difficult it is to predict what the future will be. But I think the Unity Festival is in good shape, and whether it continues online or in real life, that can only be a good thing.
all the things that we're trying to do are all the same thing. When we talk about solidarity and unity, diversity, equality, all we're trying to do is to finally make changes so we can live in a world where things are right and are right for everyone. And even if you and me and all the people who are alive now won't ever see that world, I think it's still worth it to plant the seed, even if you can't then enjoy the shade of the tree. But if you know in your conscience that planting that seed means that one day there will be a forest, then it's definitely worth it.
That is so important in Carlisle, in Cumbria, in England, and anywhere you are, and whoever will be watching this video, that the message of unity that brings people together, that facilitate that dialogue and make it happen. And the belief that if you want to do something, if you want to achieve something in your life, you can. And we have done it, and we will do it over and over again.
I'd like to take this opportunity to really thank the people who came along to the physical events that really helped to make those really special occasions and really have produced a really nice atmosphere, especially the stallholders as well who took part and raised awareness of what they were doing and allowed different communities to communicate and get along together and make new connections and learn about new ideas and new ways of doing things. And then also a special thank you to our funders. Without your funding, these events wouldn't be possible. So it's great to have your support throughout the years and hopefully moving forwards. And then finally, a big thank you for everyone who came along to the festival and visited the virtual events as well. And hopefully you'll come again and visit our next event, which is on June the 19th this year. And we're hoping to have some French activities as well. So do come and join us. Thank you.
It's been a very good day today. Lovely atmosphere. People all chatting to each other, talking across all the stalls, folk coming in, working their way through. Kids seem to be enjoying themselves. A lot of nationalities just mixing with each other. It's been wonderful.
A lot of interest, a lot of different people popping by. It's been really good.
It's nice to be able to just enjoy an event rather than running around trying to organise it.
The kids have loved getting the jigsaw pieces and checking out the stalls that they've got them from.
Everyone's got a smile on their face. It's just a great event for the city.
Communities are polarised and divided at the moment. So I think these events are really, really important. People just coming together to celebrate difference and diversity.
It's been a really successful event, hasn't it? We've got all sorts of people, and the weather helps. So we got, it's been non-stop, people coming in and out and seeing, and the crowds are really good.
So may this unity bell ring forever in Carlisle. This century, and this festival is